Welcome to the panel of the career path or the institution. Uh, we have Mrs. Saritha Balanagar, who is the college and career advisor at Sancta Maria International School, Hyderabad, and she'll be introducing the other panelists. But before that, some housekeeping rules. All of you who are in person here, please ensure that everybody is wearing their masks, fully covered nose and mouth are always kept on at all times during the session, including when asking questions. Microphones will not be shared or passed. Please ask the questions from the stationary mic. Microphones have been sanitized between the sessions. The last 15 minutes of the session will be dedicated to Q&A. In-person audience, please raise your hand, and the virtual audience may please use the virtual hand raise and wait till you are invited by the panelist or an IC3 volunteer. At the end, please do not forget to fill the feedback form on the IC3 app. Sarita ma'am, we may begin.
Thank you so much. Thanks for introducing us to this platform. To all those who are wondering who lady is on the screen, my name is Sarita Balanagar. Like uh, my fellow colleague introduced, I am the college and career advisor working with Sancta Maria International School, which is in Hyderabad. And although I've got a very small amount of experience as a counselor, I've been working with them for the last couple of years and working as a counselor with graduates for the last 2 years. The topic that we are, presenting today or having a discussion on is something very related to all the school counselors. I've heard a lot of sessions prior to this and always thought whenever there is an opportunity for us to present or have a discussion, this is going to be on the top. We are talking about students' priority, especially the high school student priority, whether it's the career path or the institution. And for us counselors, our priority is the student priority. So that way, we have picked up this particular topic for discussion here. And let me quickly introduce my fellow panelists for today here. We have with us Dr. Srividya Sivakumar. She's got decades of experience as an English scholar. She's taught English and verbal skills for the last 22 years. Her students are placed in the best colleges in India and abroad. She's critically acclaimed poet and editor. A popular orator, she's been a speaker at TEDx for various events. Thank you, Ms. Srividya, for making to this panel discussion today.
Thank you, Sarita. Thank you. Thanks so much.
We have with us, joining with us today, Mr. Kshitij Dahal. He's a student of science, what he calls himself. And then he's a popular teacher working for GEMS Institute of Higher Education, situated in Nepal. And he's got decades of teaching experience. The reason we have these two, immensely talented people on our panel is because one has got the experience of handling students at the high school level and the secondary high school level. The other one has been handling students post that level. So let's begin our discussion here. Rather, getting into the discussion, I just want to brief something about why the students are getting confused between the career path or the institution. As a counselor for the last couple of years or more than that, I've experienced a lot many students who come up to me saying, I have already decided this career, so why don't I pick up the subjects accordingly? That's one reason. Secondly, there are a set of students who decide an institution and say, this is where we want to study in the future. This is where we want to pursue a higher education. They have a fixed mindset. So they will only follow the path which will lead them to that particular institution. Eventually, both the sides have got pros and cons. If you pick up a career path, you're losing out on various opportunities that you could get into. And parallelly, if you pick up an institution, you will only restrict yourself to that particular institution's prerequisites. And by the time you follow the prerequisites and get into the details and get admitted, now, whether you get admitted or don't get admitted, that's another debatable question. So this is what we're going to have a discussion on. Although we do have a presentation and case studies to discuss on, we will just open the forum for discussion here. And I would want to bring in Mr. Kshitij Dahal to just begin. Now, I will have something to ask you, Kshitij. I have experienced different set of students here. What has been your experience and how have you been handling students when it comes to their priorities?
Thank you, Sarita ma'am. Thank you everyone for joining with us today in this August discussion. In my experience as a counselor, I have found students, especially these pleasings, who are just into the university. They are more into the career. Like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be engineer, I want to get into aviation, or I want to get into this field. And they are least bothered about the institute. That's what I found. And possibly, I think it may not be blamed to their parents, but that may be the upbringing that they are with them, their seniors, or what they have heard, what they have seen. Like, this is a possible pathway. I think career is something that student would choose, and often I think almost 90% of the students that come to me will tell, "Sir, I want to have a career in this field. So could you please help me to get into a good place?" Uh, that's my experience.
Great. Thank you so much. So, what I understood from you is your students come up to you with a set career in their mind, right?
Correct.
So, with your students, it's the career path that matters to them. And then, probably accordingly, they will look at institutions. That's what you mean. Thank you so much. Now, let's understand from the other perspective from Ms. Srividya. Would you like to go ahead and throw some light on whether this is the right way?
Yes, sure. Thank you, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being a part of our panel. In fact, the reason I volunteered to be part of the panel is because I felt I had a perspective that was a little different to what the IC3 cohort is used to. I've taught English for 22 years. I've taught English at school and college level. But most of these 22 years have been spent training students for competitive exams. I've trained them for SAT and GRE and GMAT and CAT, you name it, I've probably taught it. TOEFL, British Council examinership, and so on. I think so. I want to approach this topic a little sideways, if I may. We do have students who approach education after high school from an education point of view and an institution point of view. After so many years, I can very honestly say that the institution makes a huge difference, right? I used to believe that it did not, but it actually does, especially when you want to get into one of the new age colleges. They do not want to touch, say, a PhD holder from a small local college in my city of Coimbatore. So the institution matters, and I'm really happy the children are aware of it. So they get into institutions, they study, they may even start working. But somewhere along the line, they realize that doing this, let's take an engineering degree. We believe that engineering students are already industry ready, as opposed to, say, a literature student like me who needed to do a master's and a PhD to be employed. So they start working, they get campus placements, then they realize that they have kind of stagnated at one level. And if they need to rise above that level, they need to add to their education, and it cannot be the same field. So the engineering management combination is the most common. I can tell you that 99% of the students I train are from an engineering background. They meet me in the third year or the fourth year. I also have batches which are only working professionals. These are people in the best companies in the country. They're from Bosch and CTS and TCS who are all coming back to pursue an MBA. So I think somewhere along the way, this shift is taking place because they realize that they can maximize their potential. It could be their earning potential or their personal potential. I can do this, but I'm also good at management. Why can't I pursue that? So what I've seen in my experience, having taught post-graduation, is that they get into a certain path, they're very happy there, and then a couple of years later, they reconsider what they want to do. My thought is, what does that translate for or translate to for counselors like us? That's the thought I want to leave you with my first question.
Great to hear that from you. Now, most of us here are school counselors, and especially myself, being a school counselor, I only handle the mindset of students, especially these high school students who are not aware. I mean, if you go back to a decade ago, there was nothing like a career path, set career path. They used to simply follow traditional way of getting into institutions first, get the knowledge of their study programs first, and then probably look at doing masters, whether you to continue masters in the same sector, or maybe move to some other sector. Now, with so much of awareness of different careers, and you see evolving careers every 5 years, are high school students taking up the right path of taking institutions first and the career path later on, or should they? I mean, it's a basic question from me. Should they go with the career path? This has always been a confusion among high school students. Aren't they too young to decide on careers? Srividya, if you could just take this question.
The safest way for me to answer it would be to say yes and no, but I don't like being neutral on anything, including this topic. So I would like to give a young student the benefit of the doubt and say no. I don't believe that students are young to think about their career. In fact, as teachers, we realize that when we meet students who are not yet jaded and world weary, and who've not yet been affected by the cynicism that they see around them, they have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of plans. Yes, their plans may not always materialize, but their head is buzzing with things that they want to do. For example, in the school that I teach right now, Samskara, I have a student, a young boy. In my first meeting with him, he was introduced to me as a person who loves manga, the Japanese comic, right? And he spoke about it at length to me. He gave me Netflix recommendations. He also showed me the artwork that he's doing. And the next time I went to school, he gave me two of his novel, his graphic books, his comics. He said, "Ma'am, you need to read them, but please return them to me." If this student came to me at the end of school and said, "Ma'am, I want to get into graphic, I want to get into comics, I want to get into art, I want to pursue it," I would have absolutely no hesitance in telling him that that is what he needs to do. Coming from an arts background, I always tell students that wealthy poet is an oxymoron. So I feel you need to have some practical skills also. I wish we could make money just writing poetry and people appreciating you for it. So I might advise the student to look at some other degree that could give him stability and settle him, like we say in India. Are you settled? Like there's some rocky sediments. I would like to give him that opportunity, but I would never tell him, no, I don't think there is a market for you out there. If anything, the pandemic has shown us that art and literature is so vital. How do you think we have survived a year and a half at home? We've resorted to music, to movies, to books, to reading, to entertainment, rather than thinking about what our next career goal would be. So I would never knock a student's artistic ambitions, but I would want to know whether that student, if I see a pattern, and we are with students for a very long time, if I see a pattern and the student goes back to that conversation over and over again, then by all means, you need to advise that student to follow that particular path.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's a fair enough to understand your perspective here. Kshitij.
I think Srividya ma'am is quite good at explaining it, but let me get my perspective. I'll give you one example that I have come across. Uh, when I started my career as a teacher, it was way back, I think 9, 10 years back. I had a student, and every day he used to come with full clean shave. He never looked so old. He was in his dress. You can imagine a movie in which the 40-year-old hero or the lead actor going to school like that. He used to come very attentive and all. And I was there teaching. I did my teaching. That's over. At the end of the 11th class that I was taking to these people, he came and he introduced himself to me. Sir, hello, sir. And he was starting to talk, and he told, do you know that I'm also a teacher? Are you? Yes, sir. I'm still a teacher. I take tuitions now, but I was a teacher of high school for past 15 years. I was looking at him. Oh my God. And I just asked him, what's your age? He said, should I tell it? It's up to you. And he said, I'm just 37. And then I was just 23. And I was looking at him. Oh, now that was a problem. And then he started telling his story, and he told, sir, I had this fixed mindset, like I had to do this thing in life, and I wanted to be a doctor. But the circumstances, the economy prevented me to get into a particular path. But now that I have completed my duties as a son or as a family member, now I'm free. So I've left my job, which is a full-time government employee in a school in Western Nepal. And now I have come to join and start this grade 11 and 12 in science so that I can study MBBS. And then I was like, oh my God, the way he took turn almost after 15 years of teaching career, like you're so into it, but the circumstances were not good or favorable for him. Possibly he could not deny many things that came along his life, and I was really appreciating him. Then I told him, now should I call you my student or should I call you my brother? Then he was looking at me, no, sir, you have taught me for over a year and you are still teaching me. So why not? Let's not change it. Yes, age is just a number, and I'm still a student. And this guy happened to go to United States, and he is pursuing his. Uh, I think he have completed the paramedic, and now he's pursuing his medicine there. Now see the transition. So I think like a thorough knowledge on career and a way to reach the particular career is always important, because it's like a 35-year-old or 40-year-old guy who is now still thinking, what should I do in life? I'm already here, I got a position, I got the status, I have families, and am I doing good? If he or she will start thinking it in his or her mid age, that would be a problem. So with these things in mind, I get into this business of helping my students to the best possible capacity that I have, so that these people need not regret or will not regret whatsoever in their life.
Okay, so let me get it right for myself and to the audience. So this is a real-time case study wherein a
Correct.
student, after working as a professional for years, has changed his field completely because
Correct.
his priorities changed at a later stage, isn't it?
No, yes, priorities changed. He had a career, but he did not know how to go to it. Like he did not know the right institution. Possibly he was from a backward village. Let me not get into that. It will be a bit more personal. But yes, that's the thing.
Okay, so shall we take it this way? After this, after pursuing or after analyzing this case study, that no matter what you study, what you pursue as an as under higher education, or where which career you drop into, there is always a possibility or opening for a transition or for a change in the field, right?
Correct. Correct.
So
Definitely.
again, I'll go back to my question number one, wherein are we doing the right thing as school counselors, giving them an opportunity to explore different careers? Aren't they getting confused with so much around when we ask them, these subjects will lead you to so and so career, and you would step into these careers. So see, we are talking about high school students who are not yet adults, and they will be stepping into as adults when they move to institutions, right? So probably that's when they will realize, they might be not having decision making skills at the high school level. So as high school counselors, are we on the right track, allowing them to explore the careers at a very young age? And that's my question. If Srividya, if you could take it.
Okay, I've already told you my side when it comes to students, which is that I believe that they're capable of being, that they're free agents and that they're capable of taking responsibility. But I understand the concern behind your question. I think there is no counselor on the face of the planet who's looking at advising students incorrectly, because it weighs very heavily on our hearts when we suggest something to a student that doesn't work out. And I think you can live with any number of things, but you shouldn't really live with regret. So I get where your question is coming from. I think it will ultimately depend on what kind of student is in front of you. For example, the example that I gave you is a student who seems to be very clear and focused and only talks about it. But then there are these students who have their fingers in many pies, right? They want to do this and they want to do that and they want to. Those children require a little steering in a particular direction. And what can help a counselor is the conversations with other teachers, maybe the conversation with the parents also, to find out what the child is most passionate about, to make an informed decision rather than just a conjecture, but a conclusion. We are required to have all pieces of evidence. Now, that's easier said than done because as counselors, that's not always the case. But can we do as much as possible to ensure that we've got everything that we possibly can to take an informed decision? Ultimately, we are not clairvoyant. We really don't know how life pans out for any of us, including our own selves. So we make an intelligent, educated suggestion with the best of intentions and offer them a couple of options. So this is your, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? And then hopefully students stay in touch with us. I was telling my group that the students that I taught in the first year when I started teaching 22 years ago are still in touch with me. So they stay in touch with us. So we're able to actually offer them that advice. I don't think a counselor's role actually ends when a student leaves the class or student leaves the school. I'm sure all of you agree with me. So we have an opportunity to do some course correction if required, or we have an opportunity to celebrate the students' success, or just hold their hand when they're not able to figure out life. The whole point of the IC3 movement is to ensure that we do not have grumpy adults who wake up on Monday and say, why on earth do I need to go to work? So that means that our job becomes even more serious from a much younger age, perhaps from the eighth or the ninth, we start looking at where we can send these students. Yeah. I think it is possible, and I think we're doing the right thing in offering students many options. Why limit? I think I grew up in a generation that had very limited choices. Today, the amount, look at the residential weeks, the universities that we studied in. I wish I were a student. I would love to teach there, but I would love to study there actually. Since they have these options, we should tell them to exercise these options, to actually explore every possibility and then figure out what they want to do.
Absolutely. You've put it so right here. I'll just quickly talk about the other factors which usually influence students while picking up either the career path or the institution. There was a time when a student a couple of years ago who had come to us saying he would want to once again, there's some technical glitch with the presentation. Can we move to the case studies later on? I would request the team IC3 to please wait until, don't move to the case studies, please. Okay. There was a time when a student had come to us with an intention of studying in an institution in US. He was very sure about moving to the US. He had a lot many factors which might have influenced him: the parental pressure or the peer pressure. Most of his friends were moving to the US. Now that's what the current trend is all about with international students. So there was a child who also followed the same path, moved to US after going through all the standardized tests, all the requirements, the whole complete process of admission. He got the admission into a very good university in the US. But later, after getting into the university, he did, there were a lot many challenges which he couldn't, uh, undergo these challenges. He didn't come out of those. There was like emotional quotient. He was not finding the course the right choice, like you said, informed choices. Maybe the as counselors now we are allowing students to have informed choices, but probably this child had never had this. So what happened with this child was he had to come back to India. He couldn't sustain there. There was a lot of deaths, because what happens, right, when you have to study in a foreign institution, definitely there is not just the time that you're investing here, there's a lot of money, that goes as an investment. So that way, this child had to come back. So this is one of the case studies that we had posted in one of our presentations. Now, I would want the team IC3 to just display the screen for this. Can we have that on the screen for everyone around?
Sarita, I
Wherein
can
there
share
are
it
case
with you if
studies.
you'd like.
Yeah, please go ahead and share
The
the
voice
screen.
is not clear. Is it because of me or there is some technical issue there? I don't know.
In the meantime, I think I'll add a point. Like
Yeah.
what I started doing these days is I'll introduce my students to career platforms. Like I'll tell them what a job is and what a career is.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes them a bit more easier. Let's see the case study and then we'll come back to it.
So this one is for the audience, the one attending virtually and in person. Thank you so much for being part of this panel discussion, firstly. And then there are a couple of case studies which we have for you. If you could quickly go through these, both the case studies which are on the screen. The first one is what I was talking about, a student, with so much of passion towards studying in the US. He had decided his subjects well in advance. He moved there and he had to come back. This is one case study. The other one is again quickly. I'm not able to see the screen. I'm sorry. Is it only me who's not able to see the screen here?
Is everyone able to see the screen?
It's there.
Okay. So I'll just quickly brief about both the case studies. There are a couple of case studies, and now all the ones here in this panel discussion, audience also, we would want you to just read through both the case studies and let us come up with an answer. What do you think must have happened to these students? Can we open this forum to our audience, please? Is there anyone who would want to speak? You can
Yeah,
come up with
Sarita,
questions as
Sarita,
well.
I
Yes,
would just
please.
like to ask when Vidya was talking also, most of the time we just come into this type of scenarios where, when the students have to choose a career path or a college, most of the students would look at the college that has got good, reputation. And such colleges have got very high fee structure also at the same time. And parents are not willing because parents may not afford it, so they where but those institutions which have got high fees or the reputation are the places where most of the bright and good students join. So it's the peer culture that helps the students, because of which they wanted to go there. So in this case, most of the time we become confused what to do. But at the same time, if a student has got a strong career path and who can individually work without any peer coaching or doesn't require it, so they can study in any institution. But most of the time we don't know how to counsel or work both with the students and the parents and convince them here. Most of them get upset. They think that supposing if I would have gone to US, I would have a bright career. Still, I am not. So these are the situations we all are facing. I think we have IC3 together. We had to work on see what should the counselor's role here is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for your inputs, Nasreen. So,
That was
is
a
there?
really good point from Nasrin ma'am. I think like
Yes.
as a counselor, as a career guidance counselor or a facilitator, rather that would be a better word, I think, when we are facilitating these people, I think we should clearly highlight what a career looks like in a long term. Let me tell you something in these lines. Like, think we should tell students what a career is. It is an occupation that lasts a long time, possibly years or even decades. Like, if I give an example of a public relation, a career in public relation, it will be like when a student graduates, he or she could land as a public relation assistant, and then in few years time it will be publicist, and then she will land into public relation manager, then president of a publicity firm, and then after a decade or so, even longer, then he could be or she could be press secretary for the president of a nation. It could be India, it could be any other country. So if we can highlight these things, like your career would be this, but it takes time. It will take few years or even decade time to make you reach a goal. Then that would be a better decision, because most of our students, I have seen many students who study MBBS, and after they have studied, they'll be, oh my God, there's a lot of competition. I'm not good at this. So why don't I go to BPH? I'm sorry, MPH, Master in Public Health. And that is a trend that I've seen among so many students doing this. So I think an informed decision making process, if we as a guidance counselor could support our students, that will be very good for them. Isn't it, ma'am? Sarita,
Yes,
ma'am?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's so wonderful to hear from all of you. Everyone has got a different perception, right? And especially when you are in a responsible role like a counselor, you yourself need to be so well informed. So when you're advising or counseling a student, especially the one who's in a transition, physical transition, mentally, he will be having so many difficulties in taking up decisions. Definitely, I do agree with you that we need to be well informed to handle. It's just not their priority of career path or institution. There has to be so many other factors. You know, we need to check in those factors which are going to definitely influence this child. If you think this child is, I mean, if he has picked up a wrong choice of college or a wrong choice of career, we definitely need to intervene and tell him this is not the right one for you. Probably let's discuss the other options and then, you know, get a clear picture. I agree to that, Shitij. Thank you so much. And there is even to the audience, please, can we have the poll on the screen for the virtual audience, I guess? I do understand the poll is only for the virtual audience, and the one attending in person, we would
Hi,
love to hear
Sarita.
it out from you.
Sarita,
What do
just
you
one
think
second.
Akshaya might have
Can she hear me?
gotten into? She
Uh,
Mute her down.
I
is
think
Hi,
our
Sarita.
audience can check a chat
hello.
Hi.
Yeah,
tab.
Hi,
hi.
this is Aarti from the IC3 team. I just want to quickly share that the poll is for everyone and anyone. The virtual
Okay,
audiences and the physical audiences can vote. Anyone can
great.
go to menti.com on their browser, just enter this code 52642412 and they are going to be able to vote. It's very simple.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Thank you.
That would open up our minds because these are real time case studies that we got in for you. So let's see what our fellow counselors and fellow IC3 members think about these.
So 52642412. Even the panelists can poll.
Sure.
So as the poll keeps coming, as the people start voting, we'll see live results over here.
Great. Wonderful. It's so lovely to see everyone.
We are like seeing the graph move. That's so cool.
That's a good guess. Is it?
Yes.
Sure. Let me see.
Aksha completes her master's program. Everybody feels Akshay has.
It seems like people have voted.
all. Thanks each one of you. Shall we move to case study number 2?
Yes, yes,
If you
sure.
can get, yeah, the poll results for both at once. So 75% believe that Akshaya completes her CFA, completes a master's degree, and then currently placed in a very good international firm. So this is case study number 2, wherein both are high school students, both were high school students, both had a prior choice of careers, and this is what you think they must have done, right?
So same going to menti.com, same code, it will get you to the results. I think we've received our polls.
Has the poll ended?
Still, it's really interesting.
Quite interesting.
Right.
None have picked the
First
option
choice.
in the first
In
choice.
both the case, both the case.
Both the cases. Nobody has gone with option
Correct.
number 1 here. So if we are done with the poll results, Aarti, if you could please let us know.
Hi, I'm Madhumita. We are done with the poll results.
Great. So the can we see it on the screen, the poll results, if possible? Otherwise, also, yeah, we have it on the screen here. Now, yeah, this is the poll result for case study number 2, what happened with Krishna, and this is what you think must have happened with Krishna. He begs for 6% of you say Krishna begs and gets another chance to finish his bachelor's degree and now currently working in a bank. 69% of you believe that Krishna becomes a certified fitness, uh, helping others achieve their dream. Then 25% of you believe Krishna starts a lawn tennis training academy in his hometown. Now, this is a real-time case study, which who happens to be a student of Mr. Kshitij. So, could you please let us know what actually, and to those wondering what must have happened with these students, please tell us.
I think most of us were correct in saying that Krishna now earns a certificate as a fitness trainer, and he has started giving trainings. He has his own fitness institute, and he is a fitness trainer now. I think that's how the dream goes.
Which means our audience are on the spot.
Correct.
They had to
Correct.
go. Thank you. So can we move to the poll result of case study number 1? Otherwise, most of us must have opted for 3, right? Option number 3. And Sri Vidya, if you could take this one.
Sure. This is a student actually of Sarita's, and what Akshaya discovers is that instead of listening to what people had to say about what she needed to do, she needed to focus on her life goals. Came back, finished her engineering degree, and then went in for a master's degree where she discovers that she has a great love for finance. You're absolutely right. She goes back, finishes her master's, finishes 3 levels of CFA, and now is working in a finance department in a prestigious firm and really enjoying her life.
Thank you. Now, we will just open this forum for any questions from the audience side. Audience, if you have anything to ask us, see, we have discussed that students are always under this uncertainty of what to pick when they are, in especially the grade 12 students. There's so much available for them. as part of careers. So should they go pick a career, follow the path, go to an institution, not simply looking at elite institutions, renowned institutions, or a simple program that any good institution offers, and then probably get into career path? Or should they look at institution first, see what they have to offer? If that is what you are there, acquiring knowledge and gaining from the program or the study program, especially the undergraduate study program, will you go with that? So it's open for the audience now. Can we hear from the audience one last time?
The
You can
virtual
unmute
audience can
yourself.
raise their hand.
I mean, the virtual audience can definitely unmute yourself and then speak up here.
Hands raised in
We would
Jahangi.
love to hear it out from you.
Yeah, I'm a beginner, so this is my,
Okay,
you know,
can you
when I
hear
read the
me?
first case study, I was thinking that when we look at what is the best uh, fit for the student, we have to look at many parameters, not just what the major or the university, but we also need to look at, the location. Like she was homesick being so far away from home, but if this was, the counselor could figure it out in the beginning, then perhaps she did not need to go all the way to America and then realize that she's feeling homesick. So, when we look to place students, we also have to look at many other parameters before finding the right fit for that student. So yeah, this is just what I wanted to say.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Shalini. You're
Absolutely.
absolutely right about that.
Correct.
I can see
May
someone
I?
waiting. Jahangi,
May
please
I
go
come?
ahead.
Wait,
May I
Hello.
come?
can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Yes,
hi.
please.
I think it was a very
Okay.
insightful and lovely session. I mean, this conversation can go on for a long time, actually. It's wonderful that I mean, both the case studies were just very nice, and I think everybody was apt with their bang on with the answer also. But just that I thought I'll just share I think all of us are speaking the same language, that narrow specializations early in life makes children inflexible for change, because the world is changing, everything around us is changing. And so I think as educators, we need to prepare our children, or even as parents for that matter, we need to prepare our children for life and not for a particular job. Because I mean, we've all seen this in the pandemic now, that some jobs don't no longer exist. So, and maybe in our own lives, I mean, it's not necessary for our children, as like Sri Vidya was speaking, that in our own lives, maybe the job has changed, and we need to learn to, something new. And I think most of us did that recently also. So maybe while studying also, when they come to the third year or the fourth year, the information that they learned in the first year is no longer relevant at all. And so they need to be flexible for this change. And I think all of us should tell our children that it's important to learn for life. That each one of us, and as adults also, I mean, as educators, we need to be open to learning from our children as well. I mean, I think every interaction with children, there is, especially for counselors, there's so much learning to become a better counselor. So we need to be open to that as well. And, I think these are the basic things, like, about be ready for, prepare for life and not for. So some skills to be introduced early in school would become very helpful. And most often we start building profiles. Of course, that's very important. You can start from grade 9. But I mean, from my own experience, because I've worked in this sector of life skills, and I'll tell you that from, actually when the child is in the mother's, I mean, even when the child is 3, in is just conceived, from then on, the parent needs to learn. I mean, there has to be some parenting skills as well. So it's not only the educators who can make the difference. So maybe schools should have some parenting workshops, if that, for young mothers, young parents, sorry, mothers and fathers, I mean, like, I mean, for young parents, and then help parents also, move, because, parents have gotten to careers and they're busy with their jobs. They're not in the education space anymore, and things are changing in the education space. So if schools can offer some workshops for parents, that will become very helpful also, is my thinking.
Thanks, Shweta.
And it's okay, 1 year in a lifetime. I think this this girl did a smart thing by quitting the program. And these days, I think life expectancy has become, say, people live up to 100 years also. So it's fine. Like, 2 years in a lifetime is nothing. It's fine. And it's so lovely that she discovered her passion, or her, I mean, passion is a big word to say, that she discovered her interest.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think that's the beautiful thing of this story. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
We
Thank
have
you,
someone in
Swati.
the audience waiting to ask a question.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shreya and I'm from Ryerson University. And I think I would like to give a university perspective on this because sometimes it's a herd mentality, like you all were discussing, when students are picking a university, if they are going in because either they're seniors or they've heard of a certain name or not, and then that's what they go. But what I have seen and over the years in terms of students understanding the area of interest also helps, because sometimes there are students who will come up to us and they'll be like, ma'am, I want to do computer engineering science. And there are two different programs. Computer science is something else and computer engineering is something else, right? So it's something as basic as that, where a student should understand the difference of those, because your pathway to your career completely changes between the two programs. And also, I think if they're able to understand their learning styles, because then when you're applying to a university, picking your best fit in terms of learning style is also so important, because it's all your five fingers are not the same, right? So every student is not going to be your A plus student. You are going to have a mixed batch, and everybody is going to have something that fits them and fits, it's the best fit for them. So I think understanding those are very important. And in terms of the case study that you gave for, I think, Krishna, in terms of, the student wanting to do lawn tennis, we had a student who is pursuing a sport and he was like, ma'am, I want to make a career, I want to do business, because maybe after a sports, as a sports student, the career is short lived. If I become a sports person, then what am I going to do? Which is a great thought that they were conscious about it. But then if you're able to find a university that, so I was talking to the student and we offer a sports media program, which is in collaboration with business. So for that student, that just seemed like a great blend, because then they were able to continue playing that sport and then go ahead with, doing their program as well. So you had a degree to fall back on. So I think learning styles put together with understanding careers, like what Kshitij has been talking about, because that changes so much of a perspective when you're then narrowing down your universities. It is so important on that basis. So that's what my thought process in terms of as a university is, what I think.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I,
much.
I think the concluding words were taken over by both the university representatives here. All that we thought of concluding, like Sadhna and especially you've put it in proper words for us. There is no need for us to conclude this session. Absolutely right. As a high school counselor, all that we need to do is allow students to have informed choices, and then we are here to prepare them for the future, not just to the next level, which has to be the institution, or to the next level, which is a career. Adaptability, flexibility, and right choices. If you are right making the right choices at the right moment, you are on the right track, and for that you need to create a pathway or a roadmap for yourself. you know we always say careers are well designed from the high school level. How? It's the school counselors. We are here to guide you all. I mean, this session is definitely, I would love to share the session with my students who will have some sort of an understanding that, don't just look at careers, don't just look at career paths. Please understand developing skills, upgrading yourself at every moment. We, as third cohort, we are here. We understood what is unlearning, learning, and relearning at this age. Why don't you begin? Just keep in mind that you have a whole life ahead. No matter whether you are right or wrong, whether it's a mistake or no, please understand you always have a second chance. And don't depress or get disheartened with a small fault or a mistake that happens in your career. Career is nothing but, like Kshitij rightly pointed, it is a satisfying job that you're going to do. I was never meant to be a counselor. I don't know what I studied at the college level. I don't know what I studied at the undergrad level. And what am I doing here? I'm counseling high school students, which is the biggest responsibility on me, right? So thank you so much, guys. If there are any more questions here, and we would want to firstly, you know, thank IC3 for this wonderful opportunity that was given to us. There was so much in our minds. We thought of venting it out here, discuss, and thank you to each one of you who had attended in person. I see someone here.
Yeah. Uh,
Please.
so, with regard to what was being discussed, I just joined in late. Uh, so, in terms of career and career choices and making the right choice, at a young age, before the children actually start taking decisions, so as school, making them aware of the fact that whatever you will be doing as part of your career, there are good 30, like I've been in education for 31 years and I still have some time to go. So, something that you spend 40 years, 30, 40 years doing, and you spend probably 8 to 10 active hours of your day, it is very important for you to be in sync with what you are doing. Where does your heart lie? Where does your passion lie? Now, that is something that we must expose our children to at an early age, in terms of that if what you're meaning to be, what is the kind of life that you will lead when you are in that career. So experience sharing by people who are in that career, so that it's not just about getting a particular educational degree. You see, the degree that I get, probably I'll be spending 5, 7, 10 years. But after that, the 30 years that I have to spend leading and living that life, so what am I going to do as part of that life? Those are very important questions that we have to answer. So as a school, in my school, I'm a principal. So we do this program which we start in class 9, which we call as I Discover Me. So there we make it a point that every career that we are talking about, we spend, a month on it, an hour a week, and call parents who've been in that field to come and share their life experiences with children. That if I'm in hospitality, I shouldn't be taking a decision by being on this side of the table. I need to know what happens on the other side. So, and then developing life skills according to, once you've discovered where your interest and passion lies, develop life skills so that once you enter into that career, you have that completeness and you are in sync with it and you get your happiness of life. I think that's what we all work for. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for such wonderful words, and we totally agree.
Can I take half a minute again, continuing with what she's saying? I mean, is there time? Just one line I'd like to say. That I agree with what you're saying, but then I just have another view to this, that careers can change also. Like what Ms. Sarita was saying, she didn't know she was doing something else and then became a counselor. Like many of us have, changed career paths. So I feel it's important that we make those connections, because everything is related to everything. Like I have a niece who who's working like with Tesla, and then we were talking about whether designing a car, is there only engineering technology in it, or is there sociology in it, or is there anthropology in it? Uh, is there psychology in it? Is there design in it? There's so many things. Like, why do you think, like, like if you're driving a car, you see for women, especially when you wear that belt across your shoulder, it's just not, comfortable to wear. But then, or the seat is designed for a man, generally a tall, say a 6-footer man. But for women, we somehow find it difficult to reach the brake, or the, like we are pushing our seat in the front. Are they designed for women? So these are things that so there is scope for everybody to do so many things, is my thinking. And we need to learn to make connections. So these are very, very important. And careers are going to change. So should we be job ready or career ready is a question that,
Correct.
prepare children for careers and for life. Like coping with the complexities of life, children need to build resilience. If these kind of situations happen, like this child Akshara, she had the resilience to say no, and which is so important. So life skills and preparing for careers is so, and then build in ethics into it, taking ethics, because I think in our careers all of us are having this problem of, many of us many times, or in our personal lives also, to take ethical positions we are scared. So we need to learn to take ethical positions also at all times, and learn to say no.
I think I read somewhere long ago that if you enjoy what you do, you never have to work
Right.
in your life.
Absolutely.
But I also realize, even as I say it, that I speak from a position of privilege because I have worked in whatever I wanted to do. I call myself a wordsmith because words are my tools. I read, write, and speak, and I use them. And if I hadn't had this background, I would not have worked for the 22 years that I've worked. So I realize that a lot of times we don't, not everyone has these opportunities. Sometimes I have students who, just because they come first in the district, are forced into a course they don't want to pursue. And then when you give them the other side of the story, for example, a student who wanted to do commerce, but then was made to do engineering, the only way that I could actually, I met him in a CAT class. He came to do his MBA. At least with an engineering degree, you always have a choice to do a commerce degree, but not the other way around. So I've actually got an engineering student who, in the 4 years of engineering, did his BA in English and then went on to do his master's in English, also specializing in women's studies. So I think for students or for any of us who want to do something different, always have these opportunities. And I think the success of Unacademy and Upgrad and Coursera are all examples of how we know that it's not just about skill building, it's also about taking who we are a little forward. We discover passions late in life. So how do I make it a structured, concrete learning? So yes, I do agree with you on what you're saying, not just in terms of life skills, but also giving that opportunity. All right, I'm sorry, sir.
No.
We're already at
Yeah,
4:07. Yes, you wanted to
yes.
say something.
Let's end with one thing, like love what you do. Okay, it need not be do what you love. Okay, that's life.
Right. Absolutely,
Thank you,
that's a good way
both
to
of
it.
you. On that note, we would like to conclude this
Thank you
session.
so much, everyone. We really enjoyed being here. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
thanks to the audience to be part of the session.